I'm here today to kind of give you a little bit of information about what LTE technology is and really what it's going to do for us in the future. Um, Starting off, LTE, this is going to be the logo that a lot of people are going to be seeing come probably starting about 2000 into 2010. That's the LTE logo. Of course, it says LTE. Um, as far as really what LTE does for everybody, it's going to be kind of a way that cell phone companies are going to be able to deliver faster download speeds to handsets. So a lot of it's going to be centered around data speeds, especially just initially. Uh, the data speeds currently top out at about 7.2 megabits per second. Uh, with the new LTE rollout starting in 2010 again, they're actually going to reach speeds of up to 60 megabits per second. With that, you're looking at about 8 times faster, actually over 8 times faster than what it currently is. Um, that being said, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for handset manufacturers to incorporate a lot more web-based services like Twitter, which is already kind of a big part of cell phones now. But it's going to allow streaming of live TV shows such as Hulu. They've been showing a lot of advertisements on TV lately. It's going to become more of a mobile application. Um, with that, a lot of companies, a lot of the carriers are going to be switching over to the LTE signal. It's going to be faster for everybody. It's actually a lot cheaper for them to operate the LTE. When it's cheaper for the carriers, they can actually pass that savings down to the consumer. So theoretically, we should be seeing lower cell phone bills also. That's going to be lower for voice calls and also lower for broadband internet connection. So everything's just going to be a lot faster and a lot cheaper. With that, you're also going to have a lot of the opportunities to be able to take a handset from one carrier, take it over to another carrier, and have it activated. While you could do that before some of the GSM carriers, some people were taking unlocked iPhones and taking them from AT&T and activating them on T-Mobile. In the future, theoretically, you should be able to take say an iPhone from AT&T and activate it on Verizon, and it should work for you. So where before they used two different signals, one was GSM and one was CDMA. They were just incompatible, they wouldn't work with each other. The LTE is actually, I was saying that the download speeds are going to increase, and it's also going to drive down prices. Um, the Open Handset Alliance, which is actually this handout I passed out to you, they actually kind of have this posted. What this does for you kind of breaks down, gives you kind of a timeline, and I'll actually show this right here. 2010, they're actually going to start with some of the so-called Super G, which is the transitional period from regular 3G service to the new 4G, which is the LTE. By 2000 and a lot of people are saying 2015, 2020, it's going to be officially full-fledged. So all carriers are going to be using it. Everything is going to be running from your data also up to your voice. So all calls and everything are going to be handled over the LTE network, which is that faster one. It's going to be less latency to where it used to take, I believe it was like 45 milliseconds between when you said something and somebody received it, to where they've taken that down to 10 milliseconds. So it's also been a decrease there. Let's see. The Open Handset Alliance, they actually have 47 companies that are all involved in kind of working everything together. They're going to play a big role in LTE service. They're all planning on using LTE for their new devices. Those are actually going to be called Android devices. The Android devices I'll talk about in just a little bit. But basically what the Open Handset Alliance does is they kind of set standards for the way things work. They have a certain software, a certain line of code set up, and they actually have that published so people can create their own devices, actually create their own applications for devices. So you can turn phones into a flashlight, actually like a level to make sure everything is kind of level or flush, if you're setting shelves or anything like that. You can turn it into a video game setup, so you can actually play games on it. A lot of this stems from what the iPhone did when they first came out with first came out with everything in their app store. So you're going to be able to create your own apps and also buy apps from people who have already created them and actually load those up to the phone and have everything set up. So you can do pretty much whatever you want with it. That's what's really going to push the market forward and kind of get everything rolling in the way of LTE. Like I was saying, the Android phones, T-Mobile actually has one right now. It's called the G1. Um, it's actually kind of like a Google operating system. Um, just kind of its base form. Google helped design a lot of it. With that, they actually have applications you can download, themes you can set up. You can change the way that the phone dials. So if you wanted to, you can reverse the numbers, whatever you wanted to. Um, just there's a lot of things you can do to really make the device your own device. And that's actually from the Open Handset Alliance, their website, which I have listed in my Works Cited page. In conclusion, what that's going to do for us is it's going to lower the prices of cell phone service. So a lot more people are going to be able to afford it, or going to be able to afford more phones or more features for the phones. It's also going to allow a lot more competition between the carriers, to where Verizon and AT&T, their services, their GSM and CDMA, weren't compatible, so you couldn't go back and forth between them as easily. Now, being they're all LTE, everything is going to flow a lot easier, so it's going to make it harder for them to keep a customer. So they're actually going to have to lower prices, to keep the customers with them. One other thing I wanted to kind of go over on the last page that I had handed out to you. This is what Nokia is actually kind of set up for what they think the timeline is. This is also where I got everybody thinking about 2020 before LTE is full-fledged. And that's this right here for you. What this is saying is that actually by 2010 to 2013, LTE is going to launch, and that is going to help get kind of laptops and high-end mobile phones on the path of getting things into the LTE era. By 2020 to 2030 is when they're planning on having everything launched. And that's going to be your voice and also your data speeds. That pretty much sums everything up for me. If you have any questions, let me know.